Welcome to A Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach with Mark Gellard and Candy Reid.
Well, welcome to the latest edition of Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach with our continued new look, thanks to our good friend Sean Kitchen has put this together. Mark, we join you. Well, I'm still at the US Open, but you are nowhere near this, and you've got some good fun things planned for the next few days.
Yeah, I'm pretending the US Open isn't happening anymore after our performance there. So I've come as far away as I can and down in the Cayman Islands, spending some time with a few friends down here and under the water. So it's a fun place to be. Although I'd rather still be at New York.
Yeah, your life is so crazy. We document it on this podcast all the time, and it just blows me away how much you work, how much you do for everybody else, really, not just yourself. So it's nice, I'm sure, to have a few days just to think about yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, I think, as tennis coaches, the one thing we all have is obsession, right? You have to be obsessed with this job to do it well, because you have a tennis brain. You're always thinking about tennis. So sometimes it's good to come away and do something completely left field so that you can have some time to reset. And because also I found that you're not useful at some point. You get when you're working with a player, you don't become as useful to them because you're burnt out. They're burnt out. You need some new energy, and the players feel that. So hopefully a few days down here will rejuvenate and refresh me and give me some new ideas that can help us moving forward for the rest of the season.
As long as you don't get the bends, but it does add to the conversation, I'm sure, because you can chat about what you saw underwater as opposed to underwater on a tennis court, so to speak, because Every tennis player knows what that feels like once in a while. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the latter stages of the US Open, but it's been a good tournament overall for the United States players. 2 men in the semi-finals, 2 women in the semi-finals, and now, of course, Jessie Pegula in the final, and it couldn't have really happened to a better person.
No, that's right. I've actually known Jessica for a long time. She moved down to Florida when she was about 12 or 13. So I used to work at an academy there and used to definitely wasn't her coach, but would be on court with her quite a lot through those years. And she's just one of the nicest girls. Really happy for her to have done so well. And obviously it was a good comeback win last night in tough conditions there. She did a really good job resetting and coming through to win that match. So good week for Muchova as well. Great Grand Slam for her. And I heard she was actually sick in the round before. She was not well.
Yes.
So she's obviously
kept leaving the court.
Yeah, some kind of stomach flu, I believe. But she did great. But happy for Jessica in her first final. Finally got the monkey off the back, I suppose, getting past the quarters. So she's done that emphatically now. So I'm happy for her. And it'll be a real interesting Cincinnati rematch, really, with Sabalenka.
It was the first thing when she sat down for a press conference after getting through the quarterfinals where she was 0-6. And she said, finally, you guys don't get to ask me about this. She's got, I think, a great sense of humor, which is so important, isn't it, in that situation where there's something that people just keep asking you about. You've got to see the light of day because, of course, the media, well, we do that to people. Now, we call this, of course, Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach because you are the headline act. And we also bring in other coaches. But this time we're going to bring in a professional chef. This is someone you have worked with intimately, someone you know all about. And, of course, that side of the game we don't really talk about. We talk about the mental side, the physical side, and obviously on court. But what the players are eating is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. He actually reached out to me through Instagram earlier this year on the grass court swing in England. And my first thought was to kind of brush it off because it was such a luxury kind of item or product that I didn't think we'd be able to do. But we spoke to him and he was so great and so experienced that we found a way to make it work for everyone. And he came to Wimbledon to the house we were renting and cooked for us, for me and Magda and the team. And he was fantastic. He put on some excellent food and gave Magda some decisions before he came regarding the menu, and put together a great food. And it's so nice when someone can come and prepare food for you professionally that knows what they're doing, can cater to your needs, whether so many players suffer with, or not suffer, but they have allergies or they're intolerant to food. So it's all very controlled. And he did an excellent job. And since then, he's also worked with many other players on the tour, whether it's Sara Errani and Paolini, I think Fognini. So he's really got some interesting stories and some some great insights into working and cooking for some of the best players in the world. So I thought it was a really fascinating listen to speak with him, and I thought it would be something that the listeners would enjoy.
So we've got him coming up next. It's Leonardo Carnevale, and I'm glad you brought up Sara Errani because she's just won the US Open mixed doubles title with Andrea Vavasori. And of course, before that, she won the US Open doubles gold medal with Jasmine Paolini. And Andrea Vavasori, we've been in constant conversation with him. We're going to get him on the pod. He's promised to come on. So that is a future guest. But Mark, just before we say goodbye, because I know you're going scuba very, very soon, what are your upcoming plans after you get back from the Caymans?
So we have a 3-4 days now of training coming up, starting over this weekend. We'll be in Florida training for 3 or 4 days. And then we fly to Hua Hin in Thailand on Wednesday. But that's a really tough flight. That's a long flight. It's about a 24-hour journey because we're about as far away as you can be from Thailand. So we'll make our way there, arriving in on Friday local time, and then that will give us a couple of days to adjust, hopefully, to the time difference and the conditions. Although we've been there before, because this tournament in Hua Hin was supposed to be in China, but something happened there with the local government pulling out at the last minute, and the owners of the tournament, I think it's APG, had to relocate this at the last moment to Hua Hin, where they've already had several events over the last few years. Actually, one of the ones that Magda won was there. So we have good memories, so we're happy to go back there. And then after that, we go into the full China swing, which would be Beijing, Wuhan, Zhengzhou, and then I think we've got 2 more in different parts there, and I need to check which ones those are, but there's about five in a row in China. And then she'll have a week off, and then she has the Billie Jean King Cup finals, which is now in Malaga. It was originally planned for Seville, but it's been relocated as well due to different issues. So she has, she probably has about 8 more weeks of competitive tennis left this season, and then a needed off season. But I do feel, again, probably people listening wonder, I said that we were playing well and we kind of laid an egg in New York, but I think we are. I think we're in a good place. I think it's one match, and that's the key, right, for players now, is you can let this disappointing result in New York affect us long term, or we can throw it in the trash and say it was one match and it was the anomaly, that the rogue result that we're not going to pay attention to. So we have to learn from it, but I think we're in a really good spot. So I hope that we can continue playing well through the Asian swing and moving forwards.
All right, brilliant, Mark. Go and enjoy your scuba diving. Make sure you come up at the end, because we're going to continue this podcast. And we're going to speak to Leonardo Carnevale coming up now. He's going to hopefully bring us loads of great recipes to bring you. Mark, enjoy the scuba.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
Delighted to welcome Leonardo Carnevale to the podcast. Leonardo, welcome. You are a top chef, and that's why we brought you on, because we bring in a lot of professional tennis coaches, hence the name of our podcast. We bring in people associated directly with tennis, but I actually never thought about bringing someone in who looks after the nutrition side for professional athletes. And that's what you do. Just tell us how you got started, please.
Hello to everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. In terms of professional tennis athlete, everything started in Wimbledon this year. Just 2 weeks before the tournament, I started to contact some coaches, athletes in person, and I had the occasion to cook for many of them, especially Potapova, Shevchenko, Paolini, Fognini, Errani, and Magda Linette as well. And was absolutely brilliant to support them and to cook for them behind the scene before the match, after the match. Was absolutely brilliant.
So you're obviously Italian. You worked with a lot of Italian players. How did the connection get made initially?
I have to say, being Italian is really easy to work for Italians, especially when they are abroad playing tournaments out of Italy, because they always love to have Italian meals, Italian food. So they are always looking for it. And I mean, the connection was quite easy because, as I said, they were always looking for Italian food. And I was there at the right time, and was really a pleasure to cook for them and let's see them enjoying my food.
Well, I have to say, I think everyone enjoys Italian food, particularly from a master chef.
That's not a tricky one, is it, to choose? I've been to Italy a couple of times, actually heading off in a couple of days' time to Bologna for the Davis Cup, and very much looking forward to the cuisine. Give us an idea of what these players are enjoying eating, because of course tennis players have to keep up a unique diet. They can't start eating pizzas, I'd imagine.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have to say the must was pasta as a carbohydrates. They always required pasta with tomato sauce. After the match, maybe as a pleasure, they had like with the seafood, otherwise with meat, with beef. And then like a typical protein could be like chicken or fish, like roasted baked fish. And then as a garnish, like a lot of veggies. And then maybe, as I said, after the match, they can have a little pleasure as a tiramisu or like healthy dessert. I mean, a tiramisu and a healthy version. So like always to keep it fit.
How do you make tiramisu in a healthy version?
So the healthy version, instead of mascarpone, I have to use ricotta, which is always, of course, lactose cheese, but it's really way more healthier than mascarpone, of course. So it's really good alternative instead of mascarpone.
Do you find tennis players particularly fussy in what they eat?
I have to say most of them, they like to have healthy food. They like to have a lot of food. I mean, I guess during the tournament, they consume a lot of energy, so they have to be like fresh for the day after. So it's important to have a balanced meal. So protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables every time. And as I said, it was really a pleasure to see them like enjoying my food and my creation. And even the atmosphere out of the court is really nice, really polite with all the coach, with the team. So it's really like family style, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, you're feeding the whole team, I'd imagine. So no wonder you're getting some good vibes from them. Yeah,
exactly. And then was quite funny situation because, of course, like the coach maybe was having like better food in terms of like more interesting, maybe like seafood, clams, spaghetti, this kind of stuff. Then, of course, like the tennis player that they were having the match, maybe the day after, they were being like more strict, and the tennis player were a bit jealous of the coaches, you know. So it was a kind of funny situation.
Yeah, that's just not right, is it? I think the coaches and the teams need to eat exactly what the players are eating.
Yeah, exactly.
My other question was going to be about how much they've eaten, and obviously, as you said, they eat a lot because they're consuming a lot of calories. But there's a fine line between eating calories, filling yourself up, but also being too full. So how do you make that distinction? How do you know how much to cook?
I have to say I was going a bit like the feeling, and then I was cooking maybe a bit more extra food, and then in case they were asking for more, I was ready for it. I have to say they were really happy about the portion, you know, quite a big portion, quite generous with them. But as I said, if you keep the balance between protein, carbs, and vegetables at the end of the meal, you feel good, you feel like full, you know, but not really full, ready to go to sleep, to have a good rest for the day after, to be ready, full of energy, you know. So it was kind of good.
So Mark said that you contacted him and worked with Magda a little bit and made them all some delicious food during Wimbledon. Are you then going over to the players' houses, essentially?
Yes, I was always going to the players' house at Wimbledon. Even the atmosphere, I have to say, was magic. You know, Wimbledon, the countryside of London, is beautiful place, really beautiful cottages. Even I have to say, even the kitchens of the cottages were amazing, unbelievable. Like plenty of things to cook. So it was really a pleasure to cook for all of them. And in particular for Mark and Magda, was really beautiful, especially because it was before the tournament. So maybe they had a little bit more pleasure of eating because the tournament didn't start yet. And then even the day after I cooked for them, I had the chance to go, thanks to Mark, to go to the club to see the behind the scene before the tournament, and it was magic. Like all the players around, no fans, was amazing. Just me, the coaches, the athletes, and no one else. Was incredible atmosphere.
It's the best time. I absolutely love as a commentator just walking around before the tournament begins, because you're kind of getting that feeling, aren't you? The anticipation, but it's not so chaotic, and you can really see everybody. And I think all the players, the coaches, the teams are a lot more relaxed before everything gets going.
Exactly,
Is that what you felt?
Exactly.
So tell me what you like to eat, given that you're a top chef, and also tell me where you've worked for and the names you've worked with.
So, I mean, if I have to choose like a cheat meal, as a traditional Italian person, I love pizza, I love pasta, I love ice cream. But for me, it's really important even to work as a chef, to have like a balanced diet. So I always try to eat in a proper way, especially because I love to practice sport as well, tennis in particular as well. So I have to give as an advice that is really important to have a proper balance as a lifestyle, not as a diet, but as a lifestyle. You know, if you eat in a proper way, then your day is gonna be better than if you eat like not in an ideal way, no? And I cooked as well for football players, professional cyclists. So I really like to cook for professional athletes because, as I said, for me it's really important, it's really crucial, the nutrition. So I'm really glad to see that I can cook for them, and then the day after to see them performing on the court, on the football pitch. And it's really magic. I was cooking for Magda, and then the day after seeing her playing the Wimbledon club, and was the same for other tennis players during Wimbledon, or for example cooking for Inter Milan football player, and then the day after watching them at San Siro, the stadium, and maybe scoring. I was like, wow, that's insane.
All right, so we've got to go and speak more about that. How do the footballers differ from the tennis players, differ from the Tour de France, the cyclists, in what they eat and how much they eat?
I have to say, football player for the football player is easier because they have like the team supporting them. So like they always have one meal with the team, and then the other meal they can have by themselves. But they really like to have healthy food as well. Maybe some of them, they don't always have the carbohydrates. Some of them, they just have the protein and the veggies. I don't know why, but maybe because the day after they have like a rich breakfast. And for example, the cyclists, they like to have a lot of carbohydrates because they consume a lot during the Tour de France. So they like them diet is like mostly carbohydrates with a bit of protein and veggies. And then they explain me even for breakfast they have to have loads of carbs, like pancakes or porridge or whatever is carbs, because then during the day they consume so many calories that they have to have a lot of power, you know. So it's really different. Yeah. And then, for example, I have to say the football player is more like dynamic sport, and maybe tennis players are more about endurance. So the nutrition is similar, but slightly different, you know.
It's so hard as a tennis player because you've got the anaerobic, you've got the aerobic, you've got matches that could last 3.5 hours, they could last an hour, but there's lots of quick sprints, there's lots of long points, so it's really difficult. Whereas, you know, with Tour de France, particularly on longer days. But that's so fascinating. Is there a sport that you particularly love to watch apart from tennis?
Tennis and football mostly, cycling as well. I mean, as soon as there is something on the TV, I love to watch. I got a lot of inspiration from them, and it's really a pleasure and an honor for me to cook for them and to see and admire them on the court, on the pitch, wherever they perform the day after or after I cook for them. Yeah, it's magic.
And what about cultural differences? Because obviously you're saying the Italians love pasta and what you're creating for them, which you would do at home. But say Magda is from Poland. Are you cooking traditional Polish food? Are you going more American, Japanese?
I have to say for Magda really loves Italian food. So I was really, really happy to have someone cooking Italian food. And especially Magda, she's really, really curious about the behind the scenes. So while I was cooking, she was there asking, making questions, you know, and taking some tips. So she was going to cook for Mark then like some typical Italian food as well, thanks to my tips.
When you go into people's houses, because obviously you're not at home, are you taking your own equipment or are you using the stuff that is provided in the kitchen?
So, for example, in London, I stayed for example, in Wimbledon, I stayed in London in a flat. And then the day before I was starting to cook for all the players, I went to pick up some tools, just because I wanted to make sure I had everything then during the service. And then I had to say, I mean, most of the cottages were plenty of things, so I didn't have any kind of problem, any kind of issues during the service. And all the players were really welcoming. For example, Fognini invited me to sit with them, with him and the team. So it was really amazing, like, you know, cooking for them and then sitting with them on the table, having a chat, you know, and then the day after they invited me to see them, to watch him on the court. So, I mean, it's really familiar situation, you know, lovely, really lovely.
What a great life. It sounds fantastic. And just looking at your CV, you've worked with Marcus Swearing, the British chef, Pierre Cagnier, Heston Blumenthal. These guys all familiar to me. Anybody else that you have just really adored and feel inspired by?
No, I have to say all the experience I had was really crucial for me, because each of experience I learned everything, especially method, organization, how to, because maybe now, especially like athletes, they don't pretend to have like fine dining cuisine. They want to have good food, proper food, prepared in the right way with the best ingredients, with the best meat, with the best fish. So this is what I learned, especially in this kind of restaurants, in Michelin star restaurants. You learn how to respect the product and to work in the best way, so you can bring to the table the best food, you know. Not maybe fine dining, but if you put your touch, I mean, I put my fine dining touch with my Italian touch, I think is the best combination to bring to the table the best dishes.
And how are you sourcing the food? Are you going all organic, all free range?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say for the athletes, I always try to go for organics, free range. I mean, the best I find, better is it, because I really think if you invest on the quality, then, I mean, if you invest on the quality, the quantities, and if you have like a balanced meal, then everything is easier, even for them on the court or when they have to perform.
Now, most of the people listening, we do have quite a few professional tennis coaches on the ATP and WTA listening. But for those who are listening who like to play tennis recreationally and say have a match at lunchtime, let's say 1 o'clock, how would you set up breakfast and lunch for them, and perhaps a dinner for them with a view to playing another match the next day? Could you give us an idea?
So I have to say maybe they can have a early breakfast, like to fill up a bit the stomach and you know, to get ready for the match, and then to have like a really early lunch, like 11, like a couple of hours before, so they can the digestion can work like properly. And then maybe to have a little snack just before the match to fill up a bit the stomach, to have enough water, like to be ready for the match. And then after the match, of course, to have like a snack to recover a bit. And then in the evening, of course, like have a rich meal, always with balance, with the right balance. So always carbs, protein, and vegetables, because as well, I noticed that some people, I mean, especially here in Italy, people love to have pasta, and then they're like, okay, I had the pasta, so it's enough for me, no? What else could I have? No, it's important to have like everything, like Mediterranean diet, because then, I mean, you need everything, you know, protein, vegetables as well. So for the day after, you're ready to play another match without any problem, and you are full of energy. You are fully recovered as well.
Would you suggest eggs for breakfast? Is that a superfood for you?
Yeah, exactly. You can have even salty breakfasts are really good. So maybe you can have a sourdough toast with eggs, avocado as well. It's a nice fat ingredients. Otherwise, you can have even sweet stuff like protein omelette, protein pancakes, protein porridge. You know, you can change a bit depending on what you prefer, salty or sweet breakfast.
And then for lunch, would you recommend something like a salad, lots of color on the plate with maybe a bit of salmon, a bit of chicken?
Yeah, exactly. Something a bit lightly lighter than maybe dinner. So like salad, like Caesar salad, of course, healthy whey, or like king prawns, or like white fish as well is really good. So like, always having a full meal is always a good idea.
Brilliant. And then it's a little bit vulgar to talk about, but it'd be interesting to know how much the players are sort of paying a professional chef like you to come into their house, feed their whole team. You're buying the ingredients. It's your time. Can you give us kind of a roundabout view of how much per day or per meal? I don't know how it works. And also not just with tennis, but with football as well.
I was always organizing by day, but I was giving to them like a price plus the expenses. So it was easier for them like to close the deal. And then maybe the transportation as well, because, I was in London by the time, and going to Wimbledon was like half an hour every day by tube. And of course was that. But I mean, I have to admit that for me it wasn't crucial, like money term, because it was really important for me to have this kind of experience, because as I'm a sportive man, I really attracted by sport. So it was really an honor for me to see the behind the scene of this huge tournament. And when I was working in London as well, I had the chance to be there as a fan in Wimbledon. So like to be there in Wimbledon as like to work for professional athletes during the Wimbledon tournament was absolutely an honor. And then for football player, I have to say, they like to have now, because they're always on the training center. So for them, for example, I'm preparing weekly meal plans. So I'm preparing meals for them, and I'm delivering to them maybe, I don't know, for example, tomorrow. And from tomorrow till tomorrow is Saturday till Monday, they have enough food for all the 3 days. So they just go back from the training center. They just open the fridge and they can have them dinner without any problem, So it's easier for them. They don't have any distraction and any risk to have like junk food, because, maybe they feel like to have pizza, ice cream, or whatever. They have in the fridge whatever they have to eat, because they send me the diet of them nutritionist. So I follow the diet. I prepare the food they want. I deliver to them. They open the fridge. They just warmed up, and it's ready for them to eat. So really easy, really good service. Yeah. You
can come to my house anytime. And just finally, Leonardo, a sweet treat, because I'm sure like we all have those moments where you just can't resist. Is there something other than the tiramisu, the healthy version? You said, can we have gelato, for instance?
What you said, gelato?
Yes. I have to say, healthy?
Yeah, I mean, you can make it healthy, of course. I mean, I always try to avoid sugar, like extra sugar, because I think it's not necessary, especially during summer season now is plenty of nice fruits. So to prepare like a nice smoothie, or as well like a nice sorbet, or as well I prepare like protein ice cream, and then instead of sugar I can add dates or like coconut milk, which is a bit sweeter than other vegetable milk. And I think it's a really nice option, because you can prepare nice and tasty dessert as well, but healthy at the same time, So I think this is a nice trick.
Brilliant. That's a great way to end. Leonardo, thank you for your time. We've been running your social media across the bottom of the screen, but just say it out loud for those just listening on audio, how they can get in touch with you if they want to know more.
So they can easily send me a DM on Instagram, and I will be really happy to assist all of you guys.
Perfect. And just tell us how to get in touch with you on Instagram specifically.
So my Instagram is Gordon Lenny Chef.
Perfect. All right. And we will put that in the description as well for everyone listening and hopefully watching on YouTube. Leonardo, it's been fascinating to speak to you, and I'm sure we'll get you on the podcast again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And that's this edition of Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach wrapped up. Hopefully, Marc Gellard has found his way up from the ocean in the Cayman Islands. What a tough life it is. And we'll do it all again very soon. Well, thank you so much for watching Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. We hope you're enjoying our content. If you are, please like, subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when the next episode is going to drop. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us on both Instagram and Twitter at Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach.